I'm here at Money20 USA in Las Vegas, Nevada, and I'm joined by Brian Lawlor, who's the Group Chief Commercial Officer at B4B Payments. Brian, thank you so much for joining me.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for having me. Great to be on.
Well, first and foremost, I do want to learn a little bit more about your background and also your organization.
Yeah, no problem at all. So I'm the Group Chief Commercial Officer of B4B Payments, which is a banking-as-a-service provider. We are part of the Banking Circle Group, which is a group made up of three companies. ULend, which is a corporate lending business, Banking Circle, the bank, which is at the heart of the group, that provides banking services to regulated entities such as issuers, acquirers, other banks, payment institutions. They processed over 550 billion of payment flow last year. And then we have B4B Payments, which is our issuing arm. So this is where I am the Chief Commercial Officer. We primarily provide B2B issuing services, as well as providing accounts, payments, FX, all of the banking service products and services of the bank to unregulated fintechs within the fintech industry.
And people might be familiar with some acronyms that sound like BaaS, but banking as a service, for our viewers, can you explain what it is?
Yeah, no problem at all. It's a full suite of effectively products and services in the banking space. So what that includes is card issuing. So we can provide card issuing in two ways. That is turnkey cards. So if a corporate requires a white label solution for maybe payouts, payroll, incentive and reward, expense management, we can do that off the shelf. Or we can do BIN sponsorship, where we allow fintechs to build their own card proposition. And that could be debit, could be credit, could be prepaid. And then we have the banking products, which are accounts, FX, payments, and that will be local domestic payments, cross-border payments, international payments, and then IBANs and account numbers as well.
And we're here in Las Vegas, Nevada, so you're here stateside, but I would like to hear about the evolution of what's been happening over in the UK, across the Atlantic from the US. So how has this space evolved in the past nearly 2 decades?
Wow, well, that's, 2 decades in the fintech world, that is a lifetime. But the evolution has been, it's been incredible, really. I mean, traditionally, the only place to get banks accounts and payments was tier one banks, and tier one banks have been hugely successful. They've grown to these huge multinational corporations, but I think the fintech sector specifically has generally been underserved over the years. As a consequence, we've seen the birth of banking service as banking service providers, which has made the space incredibly competitive. There's plenty of, there's a lot of choice out there for businesses and fintechs. And, the tier one banks, maybe with their kind of legacy systems, have been able to kind of evolve as quickly as the demands of what corporates need in the modern world, whether that's new technologies, form factors, and so on. And that's enabled the banking as a service providers to maybe kind of gain a bit of an edge, gain traction, and grow as a business. And hence we've seen some fantastic technologies come out of the space and some incredible businesses. I mean, I myself we grew one of the biggest bank as a service BIN sponsors in Europe, and within that we launched some incredible businesses that really are competing with the tier one banks. So, for example, Revolut, Payoneer, Monzo, Soldo, and these, we've begun working with them right from when they were acorns, and now they're fully fledged, established businesses with millions, tens of millions of customers, and ultimately are competing with the tier one banks. So the journey's been incredible. I mean, I could go on for hours really talking about how it's evolved, but that's at a pretty high level, where we've gone.
And some familiar names that you have mentioned there. And I think that speaks to the growth that we've seen and the trends in banking as a service. So what do you think is driving this right now? And at the same time, what are some challenges that you notice?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd probably say that the biggest challenge at the moment, which has actually been a real kind of opportunity and struggle success story for banking as a service providers like ourselves, is the regulatory landscape is ever evolving. And you've got to stay abreast of these things. You can't fall foul of the regulators. You've got to make sure that you're kind of doing the right things from a compliance perspective and operational perspective. But what we've seen is a huge slowdown in the regulators actually issuing licenses to fintechs and non banking institutions. So as a consequence of that, fintechs recognise that if they want to prove their concept, prove their business, they generally what would happen is they go with a banking service provider and they'd evolve, they become regulated. Now that's still happening, but that's a much, much slower process. So what we're seeing now is that fintechs generally that want to launch payment products or payment services, that they'll go and find a suitable banking service provider like ourselves that will enable them to scale, be flexible, add new products and services on. But generally they realise, hey, we've been successful, we've got a great partner, and collaboration is key. The regulatory landscape is much harder to get licenses, so we don't need to go anywhere. We've got a successful business, successful partnership, and that's it. So the challenge is certainly the regulatory landscape with slowdown of issuing of licenses. The regulators being a lot more cautious with how they grant licenses and so on, which has been a huge win-win for people like us, and some of the fintechs that we work with are incredible, and we're really privileged to be a part of their journey, and we see it as a partnerships.
And I think that speaks to some of the trends that we're seeing in the space. But here we are in the final quarter of 2024, about to enter a new year. So I'm sure you're watching other trends. Can you enlighten us in terms of what you're watching?
Well, there's so much to watch, really. So, the regulatory landscape is one that we watch closely. I mean, looking across all jurisdictions, we're a regulated e-money institution in the UK, and we're a regulated money institution in Lithuania, which covers Europe post-Brexit. We also have a business in the US where we issue corporate prepaid cards, but we are part of the Banking Circle Group, and our sister company is a bank who also has applied for a federal banking license here. So we are very much aligned with their strategy. So wherever they go and whatever they add on to the kind of roadmap and their products and services has a direct effect in terms of what we can do and offer. So what we are doing is getting more local payment clearance into more local networks, which ultimately is driving more opportunity for us. It's taking us into more geographies, and it's bringing us more exciting, interesting fintechs on board to work with, really. So exciting times ahead. The fintech industry is so exciting to be a part of. It really is the pinnacle of innovation and at the heart of kind of money management across the globe, really. So watch this space.
And finally, Brian, before I let you go, this year's theme for Money 2020 here in the US is humans and machines. So what has been the most exciting takeaway so far at this event?
Oh God, where to start? It's intense. We've had some really interesting meetings. The great thing about 2020 for us is we've got our partners here. So that could be our processing partners, it could be our clients, it could be our associations, it could be our media partners like yourselves. But it never ceases to amaze me that there's always some new and interesting opportunity that no one's thought of before, and then someone's come up with a great idea, and it's great to kind of align and be part of that journey, really. So it's a great event for us. Obviously, we participate in the European event, and the bank fully participates in the other events around the world. So we're looking forward to the next one. Although I need a little bit of time to recover from this one.
Well, Brian, thank you so much for joining me here at Money 2020 USA in Vegas. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
Likewise, thanks so much for having me on, and good luck for the rest of the show.